Welcome to Data Room, the fourth course in the Bulletproof Pitch curriculum. There are 7 modules in this course. Let's start with where deals die. Most founders spend months on the pitch and hours on the data room. That ratio is worth examining. Getting to due diligence is hard. Losing a deal once you're there, a deal that was close, is a different kind of costly. The data room is where that happens, and most founders are not prepared for it. Here's a pattern that repeats more than founders realize. The pitch went well, the investor expressed genuine interest. Follow-up meetings happened, there was a term sheet conversation, and then the pace slowed. Emails took longer to get responses. The investor asked for a few more documents, and then quietly the process stopped. No formal pass, just silence. Most founders assume the investor found a better deal, or the market shifted, or the timing was off. Sometimes that is true, but often what happened is simpler and more preventable. Something in the data room created doubt that the investor could not move past. Not necessarily a catastrophic problem, sometimes a single inconsistency, a revenue number that did not match the deck, a contract that looked different from how the customer relationship was described, a legal issue that was never mentioned and surfaced in document review. Small things individually. But in due diligence, small things do not stay small. The most common mistake is treating the data room as an administrative task, a checklist to complete, documents to collect, organize, and upload. Get the right folders, put the right files in them, share the link, done. That framing is wrong, and it cost founders deals they had already earned. Investors enter the data room carrying everything the pitch told them. They're not evaluating the company fresh. They're verifying 2 things, the rationale and the evidence supporting the pitch. Rationale backs every argument you made in the deck and is built or curated by your team. The market size in the deck is checked against your market analysis and research in the data room. The product is checked against your design specifications and benchmarks. The go-to-market is checked against your inputs and assumptions. The revenue projections are checked against the unit economics and mechanism in your financial model. Then evidence backs every claim you made in the deck and can be confirmed by third parties. The revenue figures in the deck is checked against your financial statements in the data room. The customer count and projected recurring revenues are checked against customer contracts. The equity structure is checked against your cap table. Your IP ownership is checked against patents and trademarks. When the documents confirm the story, the investor's conviction builds. When they're contradicted, even in small ways, the investor's first question is not what is the correct number, it is what else did the founder get wrong or represent inaccurately. That question, once it appears, is almost impossible to walk back. That is why the data room is not an administrative task. Because the cost of getting this wrong is high, so what can go wrong? On the rational side, there are errors, miscalculations, wrong data source, incorrect logic, false assumptions, invalid inputs. This is mostly due to oversight and bias. On the evidence side, there are inconsistencies, misrepresented facts, undisclosed risks, conflicting figures, regulatory issues, legal challenges. This is mostly due to attitudes and behaviors. We can fix errors by doing our own diligence and having third parties review the data room. To fix inconsistencies, you need a hard look in the mirror. What are you holding back from the data room and why? Sometimes it is discomfort with a known weakness. Sometimes it's a habit of leaving the hard details for later. Deliberate deception is rare, and we cannot help with that. Most of the inconsistencies that kill deals are small and were just handled poorly. Every company has vulnerabilities. A customer concentration issue, a pending legal matter, a co-founder who left under difficult circumstances, a regulatory question that has not been resolved. Investors expect to find these things. What they do not expect, and what destroys trust when it happens, is discovering them as surprises. This distinction is worth sitting with. A red flag disclosed proactively with context and a management response is a managed risk. The investors factors it into the valuation, ask their questions, and move forward. The same red flag surfacing mid due diligence after the founder had ample opportunity to mention it is a different thing entirely. It is no longer a business issue, it's an honesty issue. And investors do not back founders they do not trust, regardless of how compelling the business is. The pitch builds belief. The data room tests it. A founder who understands this does not treat due diligence as a review to survive. They treat it as the final act of the pitch, designed with the same care, the same narrative intentionality, and the same commitment to clarity. Two principles govern a data room that avoids red flags and closes deals. The first is narrative alignment. Every number, claim, and statement in the pitch should trace directly to a document in the data room, not approximately, exactly. Before you open the room to an investor, you audit the pitch against the documents. Every figure confirmed, every calculation verified, every data source checked. Where there are discrepancies, you resolve them proactively, either correcting the pitch or explain the difference in the document itself. Investors should never have to ask why something does not make sense. The answer should already be there. The second is proactive disclosure. You identify your vulnerabilities before investors do. You disclose them, contextualize them, and show what you are doing about them. A well-represented risk disclosure does not weaken an investor's conviction, it strengthens it because it demonstrates that you know your business completely, including its weak points, and that you operate with the transparency a board member needs to trust you over the long term. Founders who do this rarely lose deals in due diligence. Investors may negotiate harder on valuation when risks are disclosed, but the deal stays alive because trust does. Take the sustainable packaging company. Two versions of the data room for the same business. The first is spread across 19 folders by document type. Everything is uploaded, but nothing is easy for an investor to navigate. When the investor opens the financials, the unit economics do not add up correctly and revenue run rate does not match the deck. The pitch said 12 retailers deployed. The contract folder shows 11 signed documents. There's no explanation. The investors also finds a third-party lab report showing the material underperformed in high-temperature storage tests above 40 degrees Celsius. This was never mentioned. The investor now has two questions and a trust problem. The second data room is organized around the pitch narrative. The folder structure is simple and intuitive to follow. Investors find everything they need quickly. The customer folder opens with a summary confirming 12 retail partners, 11 signed and one completing final procurement approval with a signed LOI and expected close date. The financials include a reconciliation note mapping how the deck figures were derived from management accounts. A short memo at the front of the room addresses the temperature performance threshold directly. It explains the material performs within spec up to 38 degrees Celsius, that 94% of retail storage environments operate below that threshold, and that next production iteration targets 45 degrees Celsius with a specific formulation adjustment already in testing. The investor reads a known limitation, sees a management team that understands it, and moves on. Same company, same underlying facts. One creates friction and doubt, the other builds the final layer of conviction that moves a deal to close. At Bulletproof Pitch, we developed a data room architecture that helps you avoid red flags while organizing everything systematically and intuitively for investors to quickly review and move forward. You can find the architecture as a free resource below the course videos on our website. On the left is data supporting the rationale, and the right is data supporting evidence. There is no hard and fast rule about what folder structure you should use. We prefer a simple top-level structure of 5 folders with 14 subfolders. We will cover what goes into each of these folders in the following modules. However, here is the most important point to understand. Focus on eliminating errors on the rational side and eliminating inconsistencies on the evidence side. Everything on the rational side needs to be thoroughly audited and adjusted before you finalize your pitch deck. If something is wrong, the final numbers and or message in your pitch deck might change. Everything on the evidence side needs to be completely assembled, with potential issues contextualized and mentioned. The data room is not where you store documents. It is where you finish the pitch. In the modules ahead, we are going to build a data room that works. You will learn how to structure it so investors can navigate it without guidance, how to audit it against your pitch for alignment, how to identify and disclose your red flags in a way that builds rather than destroys trust, which tools to use, and how to manage access. And finally, how to manage the diligence process so momentum towards close is never lost. Two principles to take with you. On the rational side, eliminate errors and adjust the deck before you finalize it. On the evidence side, eliminate inconsistencies and contextualize anything that could surface as a red flag. The goal of this course is not a complete data room. It is a data room that closes the deal your pitch started. So let's build it.